all for being here. I really appreciate you coming out and checking out the program. We really want everybody to explore their options. What's out there, what's out there, what's here. And we are going to talk a little bit. We want you to meet the faculty and get a brief overview of the program. But what we really want is for you to ask questions of the 7 alums that have so graciously taken time out of their day, and a couple of repeat. Esme has been here in 2 or 3 years, I think. She's a senior now. She's about to age out of this whole process. But to hear from them. They all went through the program. They are all now in the high schools, and they can give you a really candid and real picture of what it is like and what it was like for them for 9th grade and beyond. So without further ado, we are going to talk a little bit about the 9th grade program. And one of the things is about, we say this, and it's true, that the SBMS was built for this grade. This is where all the lessons, we get to build on all the work that's been done in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades to get to this place where they are actually ready to lead. They are ready to serve their communities. They're ready to get to that higher echelon of academic training and skill, and they're ready to. They've gotten through the kind of awkwardness and clickiness and all that stuff, and become these really wonderful people. I look back at all the 9th graders that I've gone through. I've been here 18 years. Been the dean of the 9th grade, I think, for about 10, not 8, 11 maybe. And I look at the alums and I'm like, these are my good friends, you know. And I think that's what's really cool about them is they practically become adults. They're more responsible than most adults I know by the time they leave this place. So I'm going to move to the next slide. This works. What do I do? The arrow to the right. Arrow to the right. There we go. It's not all about the academics, but the academics are important. These are the classes that they will take in 9th grade here in middle school, and this is where we drop them off. And what often happens and what sometimes gets lost is that actually you're better prepared for high school if you stay here for 9th grade because the classes are more challenging. They're smaller. They're 15. They're not 30. The teachers we have a load of 30 kids I have a load of 26 right now. So I'm able to go in depth into the writing. Our faculty can build the program around this exact age and around these exact people, as opposed to starting them out in these classes where there's very little differentiation with massive groups of 30, 35 kids in the classroom. You also satisfy 50 to 60 hours of your community service. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And you come out with AP or honors credits in 3 or 4, depending, classes. So you come out really, really, really well prepared, especially if you want to take AP your sophomore year, junior, and senior years. You're ready to go, and you have that training. So that's it for me, because I want to keep this really short, because I want to get to the alums. But here goes Brian. Go.
You know, I can tell you all about. It's okay. I can tell you all about. I'm terrible with microphones and remote controls and things. I can tell you about all the class stuff, and I talked to the kids a little bit about today. But I think you're going to take world history. You're going to get some great content. You'll become more of a global citizen. We'll work on your reading and your writing and all your expression. But I think one of the things I want to get across, you'll get world history honors credit. It'll help your GPA, all that good stuff. But really, I want you to ask yourself, when will you ever read these books? I can answer for you. Never. And why should you? Well, actually, if you want to be a global citizen, you want to figure out what you believe and why. I'm not preaching that you should endorse any of these or follow any of these, but you should read the classics of the world. As an 8th and 9th grader becoming an adult, you should figure out what you believe and what your conviction is. And I think what the 9th grade program does, not just in world history, but throughout the program, is you develop a deeper keel, a deeper skeg, so to speak, so you don't go slipping and getting blown across the ocean. You can tack, you can cut, you can turn. And so knowing who you are, if you want to do real identity work and go out into the world, you have to figure out who you are and what you believe. So we read some of these things. crazy stuff. Ramayana from India about cultures and values. Right now, my students in the 9th grade are finishing up Siddhartha. Many of you have probably read that as parents. I'll be taking the entire 9th grade. It's our river day into the river. On next Tuesday, we go hang out in the river. We try to verify if the river can really talk to you, according to Herman Hesse. And then we go to get some flavor of India afterwards and get some Indian food. We study the heroes and heroines of the world, Gandhi. We study Confucianism and the Tao Te Ching with Lao Tzu about yin and yang and healing arts and understanding how China sees the world. We'll get into the Bible. We'll teach the Old Testament and Genesis and trying to figure out the tree of knowledge of good and evil and what happened really. What's the real story about Adam and Eve and the serpent and the tree of knowledge of good and evil? We'll read from the Quran and the Prophet, and not only will we study Plato, I mean, the guy that's probably more renowned for Western thought and Western civilization. We'll study Plato and the allegory of the cave, which some of you have heard about from Jesse today in the 8th grade. We'll study the allegory of the cave, and you'll hear the real story in the second deepest sea cave in the world on the Channel Islands with seals and stuff making crazy noise in the back of a sea cave. You'll get allegory of the cave and learn about the search for truth and the dialectic. Where does that happen? And so we're pretty excited about not just the world history curriculum, we've got great classes here, but what it gives you going forward so that you can navigate the rest of your life. So that's world history. Next slide, I think I have one more. I was thinking about this, and we talked to all the 8th graders today, and I was like, God, how do you try to, not convince, yeah, sure, convince, persuade. I want the 8th graders to know what they're missing. There's such a, I'm just going to say it. I love these 8th graders. I love my students. There's such a fear of missing out of going to high school. I got to get to high school. I got to get to high school. I want to miss out. There's stuff going on. And that's totally true. FOMO is real. I left. I would have gone anywhere for my friends and not stayed for anything intellectual in 8th and 9th grade. And so, I mean, I did. But I just put together a list literally 20 minutes ago. I was like, what's all the stuff you might miss out on if you go to high school? And great, I think some people should go to the high school. It's perfect for some. Some should go in 9th, some should go in 10th. It's all good. We love you no matter what. But just look at just a list I came up with in 10 minutes. And then there's so much more. 9th grade leadership program, the call, the orientation week, and trip leadership. We are asking this 9th graders to serve. Yes, it's not a big incentive to come back to ask you to do more work and to be a leader and to make those sacrifices, but it is one of the things we do. Leading sunrise swims, leading Friday town meetings, working with school issues with Brian through the Council of 9, actually helping me figure out policy around here, true student leadership, the Islands Vision Expedition, becoming a 9th grade crew on top of a boat for 5 days, cruising through the Channel Islands, one of the greatest learning expeditions we do. Marine biology, allegory of the cave, fall expedition leadership. You guys help me run the fires, the rides, take the radio, do bike mechanics. There's fall leadership seminar, totally new, answering the call. We just started this. Once you do during your conferences a little bit of service, we stay there throughout the year. We develop a relationship and go back there 4 hours a month for the rest of the year. Talk about having a relationship with something in the community and using that maybe in your college essay, using that just to have a real relationship with a real nonprofit over the course of your entire high school. We often use that to give recommendations for getting summer employment, for getting into college. So we're really excited about the call. And then 9th grade conferences. Becoming leaders of your own learning. Our 9th graders lead their conference. They do their Myers-Briggs, they come in and they tell us how they're learning, what they're learning, how they need to learn, and who they are as learners. That's one of the promises we're trying to deliver on, and we can pretty much guarantee it at the end of 9th grade. When you leave here, you'll know who you are as a learner and how to lead your own learning, how to drive your own learning. I told you about the Siddhartha Day, advanced high school level courses. Jesse's talked about that. More opportunities for community service and service hour accumulation. You will come out of middle school already with 50 or 60 hours. And it's not really just about the service hours to get into college. It's just about doing the work and making the relationships and learning from your experience. More elective choices. As 9th graders, you get preferences. You get to choose. You get to go deeper, take the 301 level, bike mechanics classes, the 301 level photography classes. You get more choice. You get to start really driving those choices. Mark's expeditions, We've got canoeing, we got surf and cycle, we got kayaking, we got mountaineering. There is so much good stuff. You can't do it all by 8th grade. There's more to choose from. And then what I really want to emphasize, and you might not know this unless you know somebody that's come through the 9th grade, this part here, it's all gearing up towards the rite of passage at the end of the year. The end of the year trip is called the Ride of the Wheel. We'll talk about it, but there's honoring letters. It's all run by the 9th graders. They honor each other for 30 minutes around the fire, these incredible fires. And then we have this Ride of the Wheel expedition. We go point to point. You guys haven't been on an upper school Ride of the Wheel yet. You will be in Oregon this year, and your trip will be to the Southwest next year. The heart of the middle school trip expedition program at middle school. Then we got the ceremony of the ashes that happens on the trip. You guys never get to see what happens out there. It's kind of our mystical rites. You guys have seen a little bit, but each 9th grader takes the ashes out of this can that we've had for years, the ceremony of the ashes, and we have a graduation, a rites of passage ceremony out there, ending with our rites of passage in Gardner Grove. This is a truly earned, authentic rite of passage. It's not your stamped graduation. It's something that you've passed, earned, and come through. We don't want you to miss out on that. And then if you throw it with incredible teachers, the most fun and growth you can possibly have, and real self-discovery and transformation. I don't know how much of this you're going to get anyplace else. And again, we would love you to stay. We'll support you getting any place you want to go, but that's something I wanted to get across. It's the fear of missing out. I want to have those experiences with these 8th grade students next year. Thank you. And I've said enough. There's a bunch of this stuff too. There's the allegory of the cave coming out of the sea cave. This is that Spider Rock? That's Fortress Rock. That's Fortress Rock. And that's where we're going to be going. The 9th graders will be going into Canyon de Chelly and hanging out with the Navajo for 3 days in Canyon de Chelly with families we know. And the 9th graders will be in this sea cave learning about the allegory of the cave. It's a little bit different for 8th and 9th graders, and especially for the 9th graders. That end of the year trip is designed for the 9th grade's rite of passage. That's what we got.
Hi there. My name is Erica. I guess this is my first year here at Santa Barbara Middle School. I see some familiar faces from some of the 6th grade families, and yeah, so I'm a 6th grade science teacher, but also the 9th grade honors physics teacher. And one of the biggest emphases of my curriculum is to bring as much hands-on learning, or as many hands-on learning experiences as we possibly can into physics. I hope to never crack open a textbook and teach from having students just read from the textbook. And every time we have an opportunity to make a project happen, we make it happen. Just recently we were calculating how high a rocket had flown based on the amount of time it took for it to fall and land on the ground, and a student asked, "Can we make rockets?" And I said, sure. So anytime that we have an opportunity to make something happen, we will make it happen, which brings me to this islands trip. I got to go on the islands trip this year, and it was honestly one of the best experiences of my life. I got to kind of experience it as one of the 9th graders because I'd never seen a field trip like this. I spent a lot of time in the public school systems teaching and working there, and never did I have the opportunity to jump on a boat with all of my classmates and use that as a floating classroom. The students all had prepared in the weeks coming up to this trip by doing research projects on different things that you could see on the islands. And while we were on the boat and on the islands, the students became the teacher. Brian always talks about how this is one of the coolest experiences because you walk into that room and you don't know who is a teacher and who is a student, not because the teacher looks like a student, but because the students are actually doing the teaching. I learned so much from them about ocean acidification, about plankton, about ranching on the islands and its long-term effects on the plants and the animals there. And it's all because the students are there teaching. There's no better way to learn than to teach it yourself. Not only do they have these lessons that they're providing to each other, but we're also incorporating other times for learning. The boat is often this place that's buzzing with activity and energy, but at multiple times during this trip, students sat down and just wrote. We had a creative writing assignment for them. And that was one of the most beautiful moments I'd ever seen. It was completely silent. You could hear anything happen, and all over the boat were these students in their own world writing creatively. But they're also experiencing things that are anchor experiences that we can use away from the classroom or away from the boat trip later on. For example, we went surfing one day. Well, tomorrow I'm going to be teaching a lesson about the angle that you can take on a wave that would give you the most propulsion and get you to surf the fastest. It's giving me opportunities to teach physics using those moments that we all shared. They went fishing. With that fishing rod, we can talk about types of motion. There's a rotary motion, there's an oscillating motion, there's linear motion, and they're all able to bring their brains back to that one moment and picture it all. It is such a cool opportunity for the kids to do their own learning and also bring that away. We also saw some incredible things, like at one point in the night, there was a lot of stirring going on in the boat while it was supposed to be quiet, but little to my knowledge, there was a fly fish going through the water and a sea lion chasing it. And chasing the sea lion was the bioluminescence. And it was this amazing scene of, I guess, yeah, just nature around us until the flying fish unfortunately hit the boat. And there were other moments, taking a boogie board down a sand dune, physics as well. It was so much fun that when I came back from that trip, my first day back with the 6th graders, I said, you guys need to stay for 9th grade, because even as a 32-year-old, that was one of the best experiences of my life. Highly recommend, because you don't even realize how much learning you're doing. There's just so much fun going on. Yeah, that's the island trip.
Before I get into athletics, I'll just talk a little bit of math real fast. I'm Jake, by the way. I am an upper school math teacher. I have a number of 8th graders this year and all the 9th graders. I think one of the big advantages of coming back to middle school for 9th grade in terms of math is the class sizings. The classes I'm teaching right now have 13 kids, 15 kids, 19 kids, all pretty small groups, which allows for me to interact with the kids one-on-one. I get to pair them up or team them up and work and collaborate with each other really easily, and have me float around and coach them. Every morning during Diamond Time, there is a math teacher, or at least 2, in their rooms, providing one-on-one help / tutoring, if you want to call it, answering questions about the homework and things like that. We are also available all throughout the day. I work with kids during lunch, during elective periods that we are able to coordinate getting out of other electives to work on math problems. But we are continuing what we've started in 6th and 8th grade, working on their confidence, their problem-solving abilities, so that way not only can they be successful in their 9th grade year, but even more importantly, beyond. I'm really excited for you to talk to some of the people in the panel. We got kids doing AP Calculus right now as juniors. We saw there was a progression up there. I have 8th graders this year that will, if they come back for 9th grade, will be taking a Math 2-3 compaction, which sets them up for entering the high schools to do the second half of Math 3 and pre-calculus compaction, which then leads into the calculus programs or AP stats. And there are some 8th graders who will come in and do Math 1 with me next year, and they will be ready to take off, and they can decide if they want to accelerate their learning and do the Math 2-3 compaction, or they may want to just slow it down and just work on the Math 2 enrichment. But either way, these classes are really small, which allows for a lot of one-on-one help, interaction, small classroom discussions, where they don't get that, where they're at the public high schools with the kids that are 38 others in the room. Tying that into athletics, unfortunately athletics is sometimes a pull to go into the high schools as freshmen. It's really rare that a freshman actually makes the varsity team, and rather than being on the Frosh Soft or junior varsity team, they are able to be here in a smaller setting. We have Coach Brian here in his kinesiology background doing the tangibles, the trainings, the conditionings. We present a lot of opportunities for the 9th graders, where in the previous years they've been vying for championships, league championships. 9th graders, they can't play in the final tournament, but we're setting up the team for success through leadership, developing their captainship skills, getting these qualities that will make them stand out and tryouts and stuff at the local high schools as a sophomore. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to say.
Oh, there she is. Okay, well, we can talk about ninth grade leadership. I'm just so excited. This group was the first, it wasn't the first, but this year was an amazing year. I'm sorry, I had the backwards there. Let me start over. Let's give it up for our 8th grade employees of the year this year. They worked I'm not ahead of myself when I was talking to this year's 9th grade. Next year's 9th grade, this group here will go into the next level of our community service program. And this year, what you got to experience, you all, was being out there in the for-profit sector, businesses that are out there that are making a living, doing what they can to generate income. Next year, we sent all of our 9th graders into the nonprofit sector to figure out what are mission-based organizations doing. What is a mission-based organization? What is a nonprofit? And what does that mean? It's a requirement to actually graduate with hours for high school, as you all know. So we jumpstart that, but we want to take it one step further, which is actually give you the opportunity here to get those 25 hours during that week, but also develop a relationship with that organization and develop those skills that you started this year to take it to the next level and say, hey, I'd like to continue with that organization. And if you don't, you can check out a different one and set yourself up for 4 or 5 hours a month to start gathering those. And like I said earlier, you could leave here with a really, really substantial percentage of your requirement for graduating high school. So we're really excited about the program. Kelly's been running it for years.
100 years. Forever. I think one thing that I've always appreciated about the program is that I'm able to, first of all, I do all the placement. So it's a little bit different than 8th grade and 7th grade. But I'm able to place the children, so I have a little bit of say about where they end up. And I've been able to, like for instance, I say to the kids, where do you want to volunteer? Like give me, there's usually the standard 5. But I can tell you straight out, it's never Friendship Center and it's never Heritage House. And because we've worked with those 2 organizations for so many years, I'm able to kind of sell the program, and I'm lucky because I get to place the kids in, in 2 and 3 and 4, so they're able to go into a place like Friendship Center and volunteer, but they're not totally alone. Because when the kids decide where they're going to volunteer, I don't know if it's always going to be a home, dealing with memory care. But what I do know is after that first week, which is the first part of our community service, they will have an experience that's unique to them and unique to the people that I send them out to work with. And a lot of these programs we've worked with for 25 years. So it's great. And then there's the long term, and there the kids are in charge of finding the job, making the contact, doing all the legwork. So it's sort of a little bit about when they get to decide where they're going to commit and they have to do the work. With me, I get to sort of cajole them and get them to branch out and go to new and unique places. Thank you.
So as you can see, we're really trying to put together an experience here that's built for exactly this age, 15-year-olds. And we hear year after year, the alums come back, the anecdotal, after the end of the whole thing, they're like, that was amazing. That was really an amazing year. But don't take it from us. And what I want you to do is hear from the alum. So I'm going to actually let the adults go. You guys are free. Thank you so much. I appreciate the staff coming out. Thank you so much. And let's bring up our alums. So come on up, alums. Here we go. Yeah. I haven't prepped them at all. Literally. There's no preparation for this whatsoever. Is there one more? Well, I thought there was one more. No? Okay. So we want to hear the candid responses. The first thing you could do, though, is introduce yourselves. You guys just go down the line. Where are you at high school? And what's your name? Where are you in high school right now? And maybe a favorite middle school memory. How about that?
My name is Esme. I'm a senior at Santa Barbara High School. My favorite middle school memory is, there's a lot to choose from. Probably the last night of the last trip in 9th grade, because it was just like the most magical experience, and we all knew it was the last night, and the fires usually last what, like 2-3 hours.
Yeah.
This one lasted like 6+ hours. Like we sat there for a long time after the fire ended, after we tried to keep like making it go, and then it went out, and then we sat there for like an hour or two more, and so that's probably my favorite.
I'm Alec. I'm a junior at Santa Barbara High School, and my favorite memory I've got to say, well, I love to surf, so surfing this place called Percos on the 9th grade trip. I don't know if you guys will get to do that, but just like being out there with your friends, like at this place that's like very exclusive. Not many people get to go there, and it's like all day just spending with your friends in the water. It's just, you're not going to get that anywhere else. It's just, that was amazing. So, yeah.
Okay, desperations.
My name is Cole. I'm a junior at Santa Barbara High School, and I think my favorite memory from Santa Barbara Middle School is on the Oregon trip when it snowed. We weren't really prepared and it started snowing, and then we just like made do with it and started having snowball fights with the teachers, tackling them in the snow. It was just a great time.
I'm still in.
Yeah. Sorry about those glasses. Yeah. But it was definitely a great time, and I'm so glad we got to do it.
My name's Mia. I'm a sophomore at San Marcos. We all are. I'm just gonna say that. I don't really know what my favorite memory is. I guess like on the Oregon trip, we had just biked a lot of miles in the rain, and I was just like miserable. But all my friends were there, and like they set up my tent, got me hot chocolate, and helped me like take off the tape around my like pants. 'Cause, yeah. So I don't know. Just seeing that community come together was probably my favorite memory.
I'm Marina. I'm a sophomore at San Marcos, and my favorite memory is probably on the Oregon trip when when the teachers decided that they were going to shuttle all the girls first to the next camp because it was snowing too hard, and just seeing the look on like some of my friends' faces that were boys, and then I was just like I was it was that, and then probably the first morning it's like snowed really hard. Like I woke up with some of my friends and we were like, oh my gosh, like we're like what's going on, and we go outside and there's snow everywhere, and we're just like, where are we? And then like we had a big snowball fight, and it was fun because that's always fun. Yeah.
My name's Lyle. I'm a sophomore at San Marcos as well. It's so hard to choose. I would say Oregon, but I'm gonna say when we were on the islands trip, we went to check out the bioluminescence on the dinghy, and I don't think I've laughed that hard in my life because we were going so fast. Just like Milo was gonna fall out, but he didn't. And it was like, it was one of the most fun times I've had. And that whole trip was just amazing, seeing the Channel Islands for what it is when I haven't seen those secret parts of it. And but pretty much my whole 9th grade experience. But yeah.
My name is Charlotte. I'm a sophomore at San Marcos. And I mean, Oregon definitely had some of my most vivid memories, but one memory that particularly sticks out to me that actually ended up being on the fall trip is it was after like a long day of riding, and I went with a classmate and a teacher. We were in Morro Bay, and we walked down to the water, and we watched the sunset, and we didn't talk, we didn't say a single word. We just sat there in silence for like 10, 15 minutes and just watched the sunset, and like I can picture the sunset. It was like stunning, and it'll like always be my favorite like memory, just knowing that like I was there with a teacher and a classmate, and just we were just happy in each other's like presence and just enjoying nature. So yeah.
Thank you all. So I do have like a list of FAQs, unless you guys have questions. So I'm going to open it up to the floor, and if you don't, I could, pepper some in, ones that are often asked by students. Any questions? Yes?
How was your transition from going into high school in 10th grade, and did you feel like you missed out?
That's a great question. It's one of my first ones. Can you speak to that?
Well, I felt like I didn't really miss out on anything. Like, the only thing I felt like I was kind of missing out on was, like, the social aspect. But, like, we went to homecoming, like, at San Marcos, and, like, we went to, like, football games and whatever, and it was fun. But, like, we really were not missing out on anything. But SBMS prepares you very, very well for high school. Like, one of the main things that my classmates struggle with is, like, remembering stuff from, like, Math 1 and, like, just kind of earlier math. And I feel like with math specifically, like, there was just a really strong foundation built. So, like, being able to go back and rely on that, like, base stuff was super helpful, especially this year, because it's, like, moving really quickly. And just, like, having those really strong foundations, especially from 9th grade, have been really helpful.
Transitions from others?
Yeah, I can add on to that. I kind of thought it would be that way, where I would miss out and stuff, but once I got to 10th grade, I had like a friend who left early and left to high school in 9th grade, and once he saw like the connections me and my friends made, he kind of felt like he missed out on the 10th grade or the 9th grade experience, because the connections you make with like the friends and teachers here, like they're gonna last forever. Like from the trips and small classes, like I'm so glad I got to do it, because I truly think like the friends I have now, I'm gonna be friends with for the rest of my life.
I don't know that, like, not only friends, but also, like, the teachers. I just, like, this experience this year of having teachers that can't, like, you just don't have the same relationship you would here. And, like, I remember in 8th grade, Jake would help me with my math homework, like, at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. Like, I was so behind, and he just, like, helped me out. It's, like, having an extra year of that, like, I'm so glad I had that instead of just another year of high school. Like, I wouldn't want to miss out on another year of that, just having that connection and having that, yeah.
And I just want to say, I don't know why you would want to go to 4 years of high school when you could go to 3 and have it here. Like, freshman year is not the best year. And my friends can tell you that did not stay. And just, this is so much better. I'll give it that.
And I actually have one thing. In terms of like the academic transition, I would say, if anything, SBMS over prepares you. I mean, there are many subjects that I'm sure we can all attest to have been plenty prepared, and even if you decide to go to try to take an AP class, I know that just like SBMS will like make sure you have the right, like, they teach you all the study materials, they teach you time management, which is probably the most important thing about the academic transition. So yeah, if anything, I would just say it over prepares you. So if you're worried about that, definitely don't be.
What's kind of funny is actually today we had to write this essay about Lord of the Flies, which we read last year in 9th grade. And so I was like, first of all, I didn't even have to read that book. And I was like, I'm not going to read that again. Right, Jesse? And so I go back to and I'm carrying my group because it was like a group essay, because it's really hard for individuals to write essays, apparently. And so I go back to my SBMS account and I'm like, Command C. I already did that last year. I'm gonna use it, and it was really good. I'm like, oh my gosh, who wrote this? I didn't. I wrote it. Anyway, so that was pretty cool because I feel like if you go into some of the college prep classes, you're just like, huh, wow, I'm really, really cool. You know, at least that's what I feel, you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, just to add on to that, we had like an in-class essay for Lord of the Flies, and yeah, it was like just pretty easy A there.
Okay, other questions? Yes?
What about sports transitions? How did that work? And was it easy, or can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I play volleyball, so I didn't go for freshman year, and it's just like I've heard like stories about like the Frosh team, how they have fun, but it was a lot of just messing around. Like if you're serious about sports, I feel like it's really not that big a deal to miss that first year. It's like you get the same experience. Like as a sophomore, you're gonna get. It's just another year of the freshman, basically, just like building like a foundation of your sport and like learning how to play with those teammates because you're gonna play with them later on. And then now I'm gonna be playing with the same guys, and it's like I don't feel like I missed out with that first year. Like I got to play here and learn here, and with Coach Brian especially, he helped a lot. Yeah, so it's just.
Are you on the varsity team now?
It's not decided yet. We have tryouts in like a month.
Oh, wow.
I think so.
Yeah, nice.
I will say I stayed ninth grade year, obviously, and I played tennis at SBHS, and I made varsity my first year there. I think it's actually more beneficial to like look outside and play at like, I don't know, I played at like tennis clubs around town and with friends and stuff like that. I actually think that was way more beneficial than starting off possibly on JV, like which you're probably going to. If you go in as a freshman, it'd be like really impressive if you didn't, but most freshmen do start off on JV. And I know like the varsity definitely gets more like coach time and stuff like that, and JV is kind of just more like a building block, but I think that you can find a better building block to get on to varsity, like with outside sources, like playing with outside teams and playing here and having like lessons and stuff like that.
And I played basketball my first year at the high school, and like it's not really like a big deal if you miss that first year because they're already getting like so many new players from either transfers or like upgraded from the smaller team, so you're not like missing out on plays or practices and stuff. And like having this like small group here with like Coach Brian and stuff, I think I learned a lot more, got a lot better than in that 1 year than I did in my first year at the high school. So I'm glad I did that.
At SBMS, when you're a ninth grader, I did like soccer, and we were like the ninth graders were on a team with the sixth graders, and I really got to like work on my leadership skills and like how to work better like as a team and not like, I mean, I guess it wasn't super individually focused, but like I feel like I got skills in like learning how to just like be a good teammate, and that has carried over like a lot for flag football, which is a new sport, and lacrosse too. And it's just been like, I don't know, really beneficial to be able to work with people and give like constructive criticism.
I feel like the transition can be like harder depending on like each year. I feel like has kind of a different level, and it's also like it's different for each sport. So depending on what the sport is, I feel like it varies. But I feel like you're not really going to be able to get good at a sport until you realize at least a little bit who you are, because I don't think I did until ninth grade. So, and then I feel like till then I could figure out, oh, like now, like I understand myself, like I can figure out actually how to play the sport mentally, but not just physically. I don't know.
I played many sports here that I don't play, like basketball, soccer, rugby, and even though I didn't go on to high school and play those sort of just like fun-going, happy, like no stress games really just made me feel more like comfortable with myself, but also learning how to be comfortable with people around me also. Whether it was 6th graders or fellow 9th graders, we were all a team, so I could just, I don't know, be with all different people, and I think that carried on, because I mean, it's kind of the same. You go into high school and you're playing with seniors and freshmen and every people, so yeah, all people.
I just have a final thing. The amount of people last year who stayed for 9th grade in our class and graduated and went on to play JV sports their first year is probably like at least like 5 to like even 10 students, I think. Like we saw Eric Edwards at the beach this morning. We were playing some volleyball. Anyway, and we were going through them, and it's like between 5 and 10 people who went straight their sophomore year into a varsity sport.
Into a varsity?
Yeah,
I was gonna varsity.
into a varsity sport. That's my bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? Yes.
I'd like to know a little bit about the process that you went through. Like, some of you went to Santa Barbara High, some of you are at San Marcos. There's no, I guess, no Pueblos students here, but you know, like, I would love to hear a little bit about the criteria that you considered when you picked one or the other of those schools.
I think it depends on what district that you live in for the public schools, and just the private ones, I think it's just like preference. But I think SBMS prepares you really well for every single one. I'm at Santa Barbara High, which I think is the biggest one, which a lot of kids go to from here. I felt like over-prepared, and that's why it was a little bit of a hard transition for me, because I was so like stimulated here, like intellectually, and then just like with the trips and stuff. And so going to something that was like, you have to kind of put in a little bit more work to get that like learning. I think it was a really good experience because I kind of like took control of my education, where here it's like all around you. Like, you don't have to go anywhere to like learn so much. Like, everywhere you turn, you're gonna have these great conversations and have these amazing classes and stuff. But yeah, I think it's really important to like take control of your education no matter where you go, and I think that's like a really good lesson. But anyways, that wasn't really the question. But I go to SBHS. I think it just depends on district.
Yeah, I think it just teaches you, like, so you know what you want to do and what you want to learn and how you learn, and like, you don't get that from high school, just like having the same teachers, the same boring schedule. Like, you get to learn so much about yourself here that no matter where you're placed, you're gonna know how to like handle different kinds of teachers or like different classes. And like Charlotte said, it over prepares you in some ways, where it's like I go into the class like, oh, this is a breeze because of Jesse's class, especially in English, I'd say. I haven't had a harder class than Jesse's class in English so far. And I'm taking AP Lang now, so
Wow.
I don't know.
AP Lit right now?
Lang.
AP Lit.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just say wherever you go, you're set up to do well, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I went to Santa Barbara. I think there are a lot of factors that goes into it, like when deciding a school. My brother went to Santa Barbara, and a lot of my friends went there, and it's like a close location, so like it all kind of just made sense. And like they were saying, I was super prepared for it, and so far it just feels like way easier than a lot of the classes here, so I'm glad for that.
I think one of the coolest parts about going, I guess it's different for some, like, what am I saying? Like, there's academies at each high school, and I think some people want to go to Apple, and that's like you have to go as a freshman. But I went to San Marcos not only because I ride to school because of my brother and that, but also I have, there's this, like, it's like a health careers academy, and I've always been like kind of interested in going in a more health related path, medical wise, and I am having, it's a cool class, and you get to take that all throughout high school, but it didn't start, at least for me, until sophomore year, so I was like, okay, yeah, like, I'm just gonna stay for 9th, like, I don't know.
Speaking of academies, are you guys in academies, or were you able to get in academies, or how did that all work out? You're in academies. Because I think people they want to know about the academies. You guys.
Yeah, I'm in Mad Academy at.
You are in Mad Academy.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
At Santa Barbara High School, and like, I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be like hard to get into from going in from sophomore to academies, but like a lot of people I know that went from sophomore are also in Mad Academy, and I really love it. It's like multimedia art and design, so like a lot of like film editing, photography, filmmaking, and it's super cool program, and I was able to get into it from here, so there's no problem with that.
Well, I would just, Mia, Lyle, and I are all in, not an academy, but the entrepreneurship pathway at San Marcos. And I would just like to say, I don't know if I can, pardon? It's an academy if you take all the classes. Oh, it's an academy if you take all the classes, apparently. But I would just like to say, I can't speak for them, but it is probably my favorite class I'm taking right now, marketing. And that is mainly because this is like, and this is something you don't need to do in 9th grade, so you can we started it sophomore year, and the class is like mostly sophomores. So we're even taking with our friends who left for 9th grade. Yeah, and so we're all in the same year taking it, so you're not behind at all, and we're learning so much. This is the first teacher that I've truly felt a connection with that's like an SBMS teacher relationship, and I feel like they could probably agree. So highly recommend that. It's very special in terms of like you're learning a lot. The teacher connection's great, and you don't have to take it in 9th grade. So it was really just perfect for me.
Yeah, I think that's a key thing to know is that the academies they're all open enrollment, and you can get in as 10th graders. You can get in as 9th graders, but you can also get in as 10th graders.
Except for Apple.
Except for Apple and except for DP Engineering.
Yeah.
But you don't need to go to Apple.
Only two that you can't get in as a sophomore. It is a numbers game. Spots do open up sometimes. Spots need to open up, but they always seem to open up. We get, I don't know, every year there are a lot of middle school kids who go to the Mad Academy, who go to the BOD, who go to entrepreneurship or whatever it is. It's not like you don't get in as a 10th grader. That's been history.
If you're really interested in Apple, it's like
All our friends that do it hate it.
yeah. It's not all that, you know? Like it's really hyped up. It looks good on college applications, but like that's about it.
That's not the spirit of the program.
You know, it's not like life-changing. 9th grade is life-changing.
Oh, you were gonna ask about yeah. Okay, so the spiritual way.
About Apple?
Well, I think 9th grade is definitely like way more life-changing than Apple. Like,
But I wouldn't discredit the program.
I
Like,
would.
we have friends in it who are happy, but like,
yeah.
it's
No,
all
none
about
of my
like,
friends are happy though.
We digress.
It's the statistics. I mean,
Any other? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I actually have another question, but I will say that, not to disparage it, but it is helpful to actually hear what the lived perspective is. But my kind of dialing it back in terms of the actual decision to stay. I imagine some of you are like, staying for 9th, but I'm curious to hear if any of you were weighing things out.
Yeah.
What that process was.
I did not want to stay at all. And my parents made me stay. And I think that is the best decision my parents have ever made for me. But, and it's, I hate when they're right, but like, it was like, if I didn't, I wouldn't be like who I am. Like, if I didn't stay, I would probably I would be just like a different person. Like, I would be me, but like a different person. And I know that if I hadn't, what am I saying?
You were your authentic self.
You'd be an Apple.
Just make a worse version.
Yeah, it would just be like me, but like,
Nah.
no, not as good.
Anybody else who had a hard time with the decision, Esme?
Yeah, I didn't know. I wasn't sure if I was going to be in 9th grade. We actually thought I was going to leave for 8th grade until the last minute when I think we came to something like this, and it just made it pretty clear for us. It was like a hard decision for my family because it is like a financial sacrifice to come here. But I think it's like so beyond worth it. Like 9th grade is the most transformative year, I think, like as a kid and before you're 18. Because you go from like a kid to a young adult. Like it's making that transition. I think like what you surround yourself with and the influence during that time is so like influential and important. And I know people that I was friends with in middle school that like went to high school and kind of like went down not the best path because they just kind of like got lost in a bigger school with like different kids. And I think that having this, like Marina said, having this 9th grade year just kind of like, I got so grounded in who I was, and I kind of like shed, you know, like a lot of just, I just became a lot more mature. And I think becoming more mature in this environment is like the most magical and special thing. And you really just dive into who you want to be without any like Jesse said, you kind of leave the clickiness behind and like all those worries, and you get to just like be your authentic self in 9th grade with people that you've known for 3 or 4 years, and you're a family at that point, and you get to just dive into yourself and dive into each other and just like dive into your interests. Whereas I think if you go into 9th grade, you're going to be a lot more concerned about like social stuff, and it's kind of like harder based on what I've heard. So I think just it's really important for the 9th grade year to be surrounded by like people that really support you and where you can just like learn about yourself and grow like freely.
And I just want to say one thing that Jesse said to me and maybe Mia when we graduated. He said, "You aren't cool, you aren't kid cool, but you're adult cool." And I mean, at first I was like, "Oh, okay. That's so nice of you," but I mean, but really, SBMS, I would totally be so concerned about what other people thought of me. I would be like this tiny little, like, I don't know, weird kid. But I mean, I still am, but I'm totally, and I know it's like cliche, but I'm totally my authentic self. And because of SBMS, I surrounded myself with people who I know I like and who will like me for who I am. So regardless of where you decide to go, San Marcos, Santa Barbara, DP, staying for 9th, you'll find those people that make you feel authentic still, and you'll be fine wherever you go because of SBMS. You're gonna be, yeah, because you're adult cool, exactly. And maybe the kids, maybe you'll feel like, oh, the kids, I'm not kid cool, but later in life, you'll be like, oh yeah, I was cool.
I have a question, because I think a lot of people maybe feel like, oh, I've been in middle school for 7th and 8th grade. I've already experienced it. 9th grade is just going to be more of the same. How do you respond to that?
I would just like to say I did all 4 years, and each year was its own unique experience in like the most incredible way. I felt like there was at no point was I ever like, this is too much of the same thing happening again and again, because it's all incredible experiences. So why wouldn't you want to keep experiencing it? Like the trips, I would never get tired of the trips. If I could still go on the trips, I would in a heartbeat. Those things I'm never going to get tired of. And even, and like, like any other part of SBMS, I would always want to repeat. Like, keep having these incredible relationships with new teachers every year. Like, but it's not even like it's the same thing every year. You'll have the new teachers, you'll have the new classes. You can take different electives every year. That's how many there are. You don't have to repeat any if you don't want to. I mean, yeah, and the trips. You're doing different trips every year. So
high school is like very much the same every day. It is like, yeah, it's
same
a nap.
classes, everything.
I like going like, what was it? Like it's just the same every day. And I mean, the only like slightly exciting thing that will happen or something is like some kids got in a fight and it's funny or something. Or like the police got called or something like that. You're just like, oh, that's funny. But there's a better type, a more healthy type of like diversity in life here rather than there, because it's just not it.
What were the differences? I mean, I do but we don't know that. Well, how would you say, why is it different? How is ninth grade different from 8th grade or 7th grade, or what is the difference? What is the difference?
Well, in ninth grade, you go on trips with like just the ninth grade, and you get to make like insanely like lasting or connections that like last forever. And like you rule the campus. And
top dog.
Yeah, and I like you really do, like the whole ninth grade was just like a memory that's gonna be with me forever. It was so fun. Like every day, me and my friends would just like enjoy every class and like engage with the teachers, because it was actually like exciting material and I had fun. Whereas like high school, I mean, it's still fun, but like she said, it's a lot of the same stuff. And it's always like a new adventure at SBMS.
Also, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, adding on to that, like the every day of the same thing. It's like here, everything is new every day, because you have different conversations and you have different connections with people and you can talk to them about stuff. But the high school, I feel like, can be a lot more isolating, especially as a freshman. Like I had the same thing sophomore year of like I didn't really know people in my classes, like, and you make new friends eventually and you find your way. But having another year of that, and well, especially not being able to drive too, that was another huge thing. Of a whole year of having to just stay on campus and like the same thing every day, eating in school. Like I couldn't do that. I'm so glad I stayed for mine. Yeah.
That's true. Freshmen don't get privileges to go off campus.
You got a question back here? Yeah.
I think, a lot of 8th graders think where my friend's going, and my friends are going off to high school, and so I wonder for some of you who stayed, if you weren't, maybe your closest friends didn't stay, and did that work anyway? Is that hard? I can't, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this, but it's a small class, right? And maybe some of the kids who stay you're really excited about, and some of the kids who stay you don't know as well, or whatever the case may be. How was that for you guys, shrinking down to a smaller class and having some of your friends?
A lot of our friends left in 8th grade. I feel like 8th grade I had a really solid group of friends that, and a lot of them did leave, but I had like you guys and more that stayed. And especially with a smaller class, there's some people that maybe you don't know as well or you don't get along with, but at the end of the year, I would say that I was friends with everyone, because I mean, you have certain memories that will always stick with you, good and bad, but I don't know, it's, for me, a really big decision factor for which high school I was going to was that group of friends, because it was I felt it was just like the most solid, most wonderful group of friends, and that's how I decided personally to go off to San Marcos. But when you stay for 9th grade, you're always going to be friends with them because you went to SBMS, so you're always going to have that connection. But with the 9th grade year, you're going to build much stronger ones with maybe people that you don't know as well. And just like every connection, big or small, you're going to carry into high school and out of high school as well. That's what, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I was just going to say, like, I was fortunate to have like most of my close friends stay. That was very nice. But also, like, for the ones that left, it's like hearing about their experience, and a lot of them saying that they wish they stayed here was, I'm so glad I stayed, not only for like the friends that stayed here, but And I'm still friends with them now, so it's not like you lose any of those relationships or like with them leaving. That you can still stay friends with them and you still see them, and it doesn't have that much of an effect. You'll see them in high school if you go to the same school, and I guess just that year apart, it won't break the friendship, or it won't have that effect of like you separating from them, as long as you can just see them a little, like doing an activity or something. One of them I didn't even see, like I don't think I saw Logan for like a year, and then I got back to him, and just like having that friendship again, it's like we were never even gone.
Yeah.
Like I just instantly clicked with him again, and I could talk to him about anything, and yeah, it's just those are the kind of people that you get to meet here, and you're not going to get that as a freshman at high school.
But what about the kids? Like, I feel like, I think what you're asking too is like, you feel like, I want to stay, but my friends are leaving, and I'm going now into 9th grade with maybe some people who are not my closest friends right now in 8th grade. Did any of you experience that? Esme, Marina, Shar?
You can go first. Okay. In 8th grade, I had a pretty solid group of friends too, and I loved them so much, and it was great. And it was hard when a lot of them left, and it changed a lot of those people as well, just because I feel like when you're going in as a freshman, you're so, everyone's really insecure, and when everyone's insecure, it's like just a lot of drama and stuff, and people change a lot of the time. And staying for 9th grade made me just realize I'll see people in the hallways that I used to be super close with at SBMS, and I'll always have that SBMS connection, you know what I mean? But it's sometimes they'll be in the hallways and they're they think they're really cool, and they're walking in the hallways, and it's I've seen you crying in a ditch on the side of the road. You're not cool. I'm cool. But it's you know what I'm talking about. But I found so many new friends that I wasn't friends with at all at 8th grade in 9th grade because it was a more condensed class. And I never thought I would be friends with some of these people. I mean, I never thought I'd be friends with Haven, but Haven's one of my best friends. I hang out with Haven all the time. And I mean, I did not think I would ever be friends with Haven, but it's you know what? I have some of my best friends now are people that I thought I don't want to be friends with them, which was judgmental of me then. But now I know, it's worth it.
Well, to speak to that, just on the topic of Haven, I've known him my entire life, and I never once connected with him at all until 9th grade, and I don't know, everybody there, I kind of just assumed that I wouldn't get along with people, and so in 8th grade I just kind of blocked them out, and they were that's exactly what happened. And so I feel I really got to know every single person, and that just changed it, my relationship with them so much.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with them. Some people that I didn't think I'd be friends with, who I ended up becoming my very best friends, happened in 9th grade. I had 2 really good friends in 8th grade that left, and I think that was honestly a blessing because I was so attached to them in middle school. We were such a little group, you know what I mean? And so when they left and they went to their other schools, they're still really good friends. I consider them my best friends, some of my best friends still. And if those relationships are meant to last, I think they will. And you get to drive your sophomore year and you have phones. You can stay in touch and you live in the same town, hopefully, or somewhat close. But I think 9th grade was so important because it made me get out of my comfort zone socially and talk to people that I didn't necessarily think that I would, or didn't necessarily think that we were the best match of friends. And I just spent Thanksgiving with my friend's family, Finley's family. You guys know because she is one of my very best friends, and we did not like each other that much in the earlier years of middle school, and we just bonded so much on the trips and in class, and I was in like the COVID year in 9th grade. So we had a cohort 9L, and that just really bonded everyone so close, and everyone from that cohort I consider like good friends, even if we don't talk. So I also, I'm a senior now, so I've like had friends in high school that I met in high school, and they've come and they've gone, and I have some that I consider good friends still, but I have some people that I've been friends with that we're not really close anymore just because of time and stuff and how everything goes. But the good friends that I made in middle school, they've all stayed my good friends to this day, and I can't say the same about all my high school friends. And I attest that to middle school, and I attest that to the bond that we get through 9th grade and the shared experience and stuff like that. So I'd say it's really beneficial. And then you get to know each other on like an older, more mature level and keep that bond. My friend Finley, she moved to Michigan, which is pretty far, and we're still like best friends. And she moved right after 9th grade. So I think it's just a testament to the people that you meet and the bonds that you make, and not even a whole country can really tear that apart.
I just have a quick thing with that, just really quickly. If the reason you're not staying is because you think none of your friends are staying, like right now in this moment, the communication that happens between like, this is more for like the students considering it, is at the beginning of the year, even like right now at this point, so many people say they are leaving, and it is just not true. I mean, last year at this time,
You have no idea.
the amount of people that said they were leaving, or like were leaning towards leaving versus staying, was so much greater than the amount of people that actually stayed. So just know there will be people here for you when you stay that you will be friends with, even if they say that they're leaving like at this point in the year.
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say thank you guys for all taking the time and being here. It's a real testament to Santa Barbara Middle School and your guys' allegiance and how important it was. So thank you. I want to hear in terms of how awesome the teachers are here compared to San Marcos and Santa Barbara. I mean, I hear that you're not totally being challenged at times, but do you feel that you are? And you know, as a senior going to college, do you feel like you're being prepared at Santa Barbara High teachers?
Honestly, it depends. I think it's different for different high schools. I feel that Santa Barbara High School, it's hard because you have such an amazing experience here with all the teachers that it sets like a really, really high standard. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse. I've applied to some pretty difficult colleges to get into, and who knows if I'll get in, but I actually don't feel super prepared, and that's kind of been a big thing for me, like worrying about that. And I do hope that I rise to the occasion of that level of academics, but I would say it's really important to, I think if you take the right classes, take AP classes, ask people that have gone to high school, like, or who maybe are a grade above you, or just go to meetings or whatever and ask like who some of the best teachers are. But yeah, honestly, like Santa Barbara High School, they're having like a shortage of teachers, and I think it's not the best quality teachers, if I'm going to be honest, and I don't feel super prepared. But I think it's also a good lesson, because if you kind of just get amazing education handed to you your whole life, it makes you not want to work as hard to seek it out. And I think it's been an important lesson for me to learn. My first year, I didn't have the greatest teacher relationships because I was like, oh, it's not really that good a quality education. I'm not going to put my full effort in. I'm not going to bother, you know. And I think that no matter who the teacher is, they're going to appreciate when you put in effort, and they're going to see that, and it's going to help you. So I think that's a good lesson to learn. And it is about what you make of it. You can study on your own. There's a lot of materials, and you can take AP classes, you can take honors classes. I've had some really good teachers, but I'd say for the most part, it's like, it's okay. It's not the best.
Yeah, the teachers, I've also had some okay teachers at Santa Barbara High School, but for the most part, they just have so many students, they don't really like have time to like get to know the students and stuff. Whereas Santa Barbara Middle School, like the teachers here like care about you. Like they go on trips, they make memories with you, and like actually know who you are. So like they can help you learn a way better way and teach you than the students at like the high school can. And it's definitely prepared me so much. And the teachers here are just like I can think of them as like my friends, you know what I mean? I call them by their first name. it's super cool.
Well, for me, like, I definitely, I mean, it's only like my first semester at like a big high school, but like, you can really see the difference between like the harder classes that I'm taking and like the one class that like you have to take one level. It's like, for English, you don't get to like choose to go into an honors class. You have to like earn honors credit. So it's like you have to like really work for it, which is like a blessing and a curse, because like you have to learn how to work harder, even though like it could just be really easy. But then in my I'm in like a compaction math class right now, and I'd say I've learned so much. And like I think it's just because it's a hard class, and like I actually had to work really hard in it, and the teacher's good, but you know. And then for marketing, Miss Karst, she's the best. Like you really just have to like kind of get to know your teachers. Like for example, with Miss Karst, like she got married, and we like went out to her and we were like asking her for wedding photos and like how she did her hair, and like we got to see her ring, and like I don't know. I feel like there are some good teachers, so it's not all like.
And I want to say, it's really what you make of it. If you want to challenge yourself. And also, there's so many kids in a public high school, if you choose to. You have to like stand out a little if you want to. You can go in after hours, ask for help. Teachers really like it when they see that students are trying. So if you go in and you're like, can you help me with this problem? They're going to be like, okay, I know that they're actually really want to learn and that they're actually trying to learn. So it's just, if you go into it thinking, oh, SBMS, like I can coast through high school. Maybe you can in some classes, but you have to work, you still have to work hard and to show your teachers and other people, like your classmates too, that like you want to learn and want to work hard, and it's up to you to do that. So
I also don't think it's just academically like to stand out to your teachers. Like I think that honestly doesn't have that much of a part to play in becoming someone that your teacher knows who you are. Like I feel like you don't have to be super good at something to stand out to a teacher. I think just letting them like have a little slice of who you are, like having letting them know what's going on in your life. If you need extensions on things because something is going on in your life, most people are pretty good about that and are gonna give it to you because they appreciate people that are out of like the norm. Because when you ask a question, you're like, okay, you're more of a, I guess you're more of a person because you're like real, while most people just sit and just on the phones. And one, yeah.
Oh yeah. Or just like on their iPads playing games.
Or they just stare at the paper and just do
Yeah,
nothing.
and they don't do anything.
And
Like,
it's
I don't
like-
understand. Like,
But I mean, I do have to say it is, I feel at SBMS, sometimes I felt like I was the one asking for help in classes. And then when I went to public high school, I'm like, yeah, so all you have to do is like, you just have to like, yeah, I learned that last year. Like, I don't know. It was just like, no, it's just.
We have a couple more minutes. Let's see, competing questions here.
Parents first.
Parents first. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you all for being here, and ninth grade sounds amazing. If there was one thing that you could have changed about ninth grade at SBMS, what would it be?
The upstairs bathroom sinks. I put that in the like form where you like ask what we should change.
Yeah.
The only thing I would have changed, and I couldn't have even changed it, is having my entire group of friends from 8th grade, but obviously I can't change that, and I ended up making and growing even more incredible friendships, so it ended up working out. And then going back to SM, it's like nothing even happened. Like the year just went by and the same group of friends, and we're still just as close. So
I was worried that like our class was mostly girls, and I was worried that like because girls can be like kind of, you know, and I was worried that a lot of like that drama would start because like people are insecure, but I feel like that never happened at all, and I feel like we kind of avoided. I've seen a lot of people, even my close friends, still like go through a little bit of a phase where it's like, I don't know, you just see it and you're like, yeah, like you can just tell that they don't have the same like self-awareness as you do because of 9th grade. And I guess I would change maybe sometimes making like both genders even, because I think it's hard sometimes for, I think it was really hard for my friend Ethan sometimes last year because he was like one of the only boys and he didn't really feel like he had his people, one of 7.
There were only 7 boys.
And I think that was hard for him. I was thriving because I had all these guys. But I think that can make it hard for certain people, but I think you end up getting closer with people of like opposite genders too because of that, because you're like, you have to do this, like you gotta do it. That's school, you gotta do it.
I was in the COVID class in 9th grade, and every single one of the other schools was fully online basically all year. And even though I was in the COVID class and it was like crazy and masks and outdoor classrooms and stuff, I wouldn't even change it because SBMS just cares so much. Like, the teachers sacrificed so much to come back to school and make it so that we could do in person, and they literally took the entire campus and made it a classroom. Like, they had people building outdoor classrooms, and we had to actually build desks one day. Like, I remember we came in the summer and like put together desks and like put tarps up and all this amazing stuff, and the teachers just, that's like, you know, a risk, and they did it for us, and it was amazing, and we were able to put on like little mini trips, and we went on this big end of the year trip, and that was incredible, and they worked so hard to be able to make that happen with all the logistics of COVID and bringing this whole entire 9th grade teenager class in the middle of a pandemic onto the islands, you know, on a boat. And I just, like, they work so hard for you, and they really, really care about you, and I think that they just make the best experience for you no matter what. And yeah, even though it was COVID, I think that even brought my class closer together, and that was like an experience that we all really united and like worked hard to make it a good experience for each other and make it safe for each other. And I think all the kids like saw what the work the teachers were putting in, the extra work they were putting in, and really appreciated it.
I think one thing I would change is just like to get to know a lot more people. Like, obviously I knew like my close friends very well, but there's also a lot of people that I didn't really get to know, like teachers and students. So I would recommend just like maybe just like talking to some people you don't really know and just get to know them more, because everyone at the school is cool, so you can make a lot more friends like that way. And also definitely take advantage of PA's cooking, because his fresh lunches are a lot better than Taco Bell. Just gonna recommend that.
Yeah, I'd say, adding on to that, well, we were kind of the year after her, so like the year after COVID, you know, and I think I don't have really any regrets like that of not getting to know people, because going into the year, I was like, I need to appreciate this. Like, I only have this for a year, and this is like going to be special. And just having that, and I don't have any regrets now of like not knowing people, because I knew since the beginning that year was going to be something special, and just taking it all in was so amazing, so blessed.
All right, one more question? Yeah. Yeah, we got one more question. Sure.
I appreciate you talking about your grade. This is from an 8th grader who didn't stay for 9th grade. Shocker. Because all my friends were leaving, and what I didn't do is I just really didn't pay much attention. I didn't make a decision for myself. I just leave and river. I guess I paid too much attention in Brian's classes, but I just went on. But Marina, you were talking about how your parents made your decision for you. Is there anybody on the panel here who was the opposite? Like, you know, this decision was made, it was left to you to make. And can you talk about that process or just that moment or whatever it was where you made that decision for yourself? Because I did not. I just kind of went whatever and didn't make that decision. I don't regret life. I regret not putting thought into the decision and not knowing what 9th grade could have been. So I just wondering if anybody that made their own decision can talk about what that moment was like for you with your parents or just in your own brain and heart.
Yeah. At the start of 8th grade, I was fully confident that I was gonna leave. I even told my parents like I'm leaving. This is it. And then they just they just told me, okay, that's fine. I support it, but I just want you to think about it a little bit more. And then I went on like one of the trips and just like sitting around the fire. I was like with my closest friends, and Brian was telling a story, and we were all taking this in. I was just like, I can't give this up yet. So I decided to stay another year, and I'm so glad I did.
For me, my brother, he actually got into the Apple Academy and then didn't go and then just stayed for 9th, like really last minute. And then he was like, he like looked me dead in the eyes and was like, you have to stay for 9th. And I was like, okay. And it was just like he was just so like passionate about it. And I was like, all right, that's fair enough. Like I just kind of trusted him with that one.
For me, I knew that I was going to say. I felt it. I was a little in the beginning. But then once March trips rolled around and I went on the Catalina trip, before last year it was like pouring rain, but for my year it was beautiful. And I had the best time. Cole, you were on Catalina, the Deuce.
And Alec.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, all of us. Oh my gosh. And then Oregon, where it snowed, I was like, why would I leave? And I knew. I was like, this is the place I want to be for another year. And it just felt right for me. And I don't know, I just felt it in my bones. Oh my God.
That was so adult cool.
The decision was left up to me too. My parents kind of didn't want me to go because, yeah, they just didn't want me to go, and I kind of pushed for it because I also felt it in my bones. There's like a feeling that you have, and like some of my friends, they were like, I'm done with it, I got everything, I don't want to be here anymore. And that's a personal choice, and I think that's totally fine if you're in that place of your life where you don't think that you'll benefit from this community. But personally, I was like, I felt like I was, even 8th grade, I was from 6th through 9th, I was like, I'm just getting started. I have so much left to learn here. And I think if you have more left to learn and more left to experience and you're just excited at the prospect of it, I think you should stay because, yeah, I don't know, you have to be like ready to get the most out of it, and it's such an enriching experience and just makes you learn a lot more about yourself. And I'm just so beyond that I say. Because also, SBMS like appreciates you so much and who you are. I think every single person, it just appreciates who you are and wants to hear what you have to contribute. And high school is kind of just like sit down, do the homework, do the classwork, just like get by and stuff like that. So I just wasn't ready to like give that up. I felt I had more left to like learn from the people, and I also had more left to contribute and more left to experience. And also these trips, like I would say for just the trips, honestly, because I didn't get to really do any of the 9th grade trips, and I'm like really a little jealous of the people that got to because they look insane. So even just for that, I would say, because these are like trips of a lifetime. You get to do like 4 in 1 year, so it's insane. But yeah,
I'd say, well, especially having a brother like Mia, like seeing his experience, he stayed for 9th too, and like when he got back from the trips, like telling, and this was even before SBMS, like deciding to come here, it was the same thing. Of, like I was so jealous of everything he got to do, and even getting the laptop and all this stuff. And, like I wanted to have that. And then once, well, it was during COVID, but once he went to the high school, seeing that transition and like oh, like I don't want to have that sit. I want another year, and I want, yeah, and hearing all the stories of him, like, doing stuff in 9th grade with just this small group of people and getting to know them, I knew that I wanted to make those connections. I didn't want to just have high school friends that come and go.
All right, so thank you guys so much.
Hey, after that, turns out we're only going to take the first 25. Tuition's going up to $45,000. And we're taking your computers back if you stay for 9th grade. No, anything else you want to say to wrap up?
I just want to thank you guys and thank you all. And we can, if you do have questions, we can connect you with people beyond middle school. We can connect you with these people. We can connect you with a lot of people. If there are really great questions for you.
People at the high schools too, people at Cade, if you need help with recommendations, let us know. And we're here to talk to you afterwards and over the next couple weeks about financial aid. We try to make it more affordable for our 9th graders to return, especially with siblings, especially with incoming siblings. We don't want the new siblings coming in, pushing out the 9th graders for affordability reasons. We'll work with you to try to make it all possible. We'll get super creative because we don't want our kids to miss out on 9th grade. So talk to us before you make any final decisions. The last thing I'll say, if you come and get a spot and get your financial aid, but your kids are applying to an independent school or to an academy, and they get in, we'll rip up the deposit. You can have a refund, and then by all means, if your kid gets into DP engineering or Apple or K and needs to go, we will give up that spot. We just want you to reserve your financial aid and get your spot in case your kid doesn't. We don't mind being number 2 when your kid wants to go someplace, but let us know so that we can be really careful with our financial aid for other kids as well. So get your spot, hold on to it, and if the kid gets into the Academy of their Dreams, then we'll help you get there, and we'll give you back your deposit. So come talk to us. That goes for the kids and the students as well. Come talk to us about what the possibilities are, and we'll work with you. You guys are awesome. Thank you. That is the